You know that smell just before a storm rolls in? That mix of static and possibility? That's how today's topic feels. Welcome back to the 3CIR podcast. I'm Joel Slate Cairns, and yeah, I still talk like I'm brief backing a platoon even when we're chatting about energy grids.
And I'm Ryan Jury Delaney, the guy who brings snacks to the brief and then asks the dumb question everyone wanted to ask. Happy you're here. If you're new, this isn't your average career show. We're a couple of ex-military blokes talking life after the uniform and how you turn your experience into momentum.
That's the mission. We're 3CIR, born from the barracks, forged in service, and run on 5 little words that drove us in uniform and out: courage, commitment, camaraderie, integrity, respect. They're not marketing copy for us. They're the way we operate, who we hire, who we help.
Especially veterans and emergency services. We know the weird and wonderful jump from structured service to civilian chaos. 3CIR's whole deal is helping you translate what you've done into nationally recognised qualifications through RPL, recognition of prior learning, and then build on it with online courses to level up quick.
Right. RPL is that moment you realise the leadership, planning, and keep the generator alive in a cyclone skills you mastered actually count. Today, we're zooming in on a story that's equal parts audacious bet and masterclass in execution. Headline version. Elon Musk says, I can fix South Australia's power network in 100 days or it's free.
Spoken like a guy who's never had to wait for a procurement officer. Kidding. Sorta. But yeah, it's gold. The claim was simple and spicy. Install a 100 megawatt battery, 100 to 300 megawatt hours of storage to tackle South Australia's blackouts and price spikes, and do it in 100 days from signing the contract, miss the deadline, and the state gets a free battery.
It's the kind of audacity that makes politicians grab a coffee and a calculator. This wasn't just hype. Lyndon Rive, Tesla's VP for energy at the time and Musk's cousin, told the AFR they could swing it. They'd just built an 80 millimegawatt battery farm in Southern California in 90 days. Cost? A cool $100 million US.
Now, the fun bit. Australia stepped right into the Twitter arena. Mike Cannon-Brookes, Atlassian co-founder, the guy who wears a hoodie to billion-dollar meetings, tweets, Musk, you serious? Musk fires back. 100 days from contract or it's free. That serious enough for you?
And Senator Sarah Hanson-Young jumps in with Let's Talk. Suddenly, this wasn't a thought experiment. It was a live negotiation in public. That's bold leadership communication. Set a time, set a cost, set a consequence.
There's a heap to unpack there. And quick note for anyone listening who's like, megawatt what? MW is the size of the tap, how much power you can push in a moment. MWH is the size of the tank, how long you can push it for. Big tap and big tank means you can punch hard and last more than a minute.
Why does that matter? Because South Australia had been copping repeated blackouts since September, and every politician within shouting distance had a theory. Some blamed renewables, some pointed at ageing infrastructure. The Australian energy market operator chimed in that the most recent blackout had lots of factors, including higher demand than forecast.
So you've got an energy system that's complex and cranky, and then a guy walks in and says, 100 days or it's free. Is like a new troop leader telling the company they'll turn around supply in a week. Everyone's like, mate, do you know what lives inside this spreadsheet?
But here's the thing. Bold timelines force alignment. In the military, we'd backward plan. Hard date, then figure everything it takes from now to then. Same with this. If you say 100 days, you better have a procurement pathway, permits, supply chain, grid interconnection, safety sign-offs, and a comms plan ready to sprint.
And you better have a team that can do the job without falling over. That California example. 80 milliwatt in 90 days tells you Tesla had the muscle memory. It's like watching someone pass a PT test at altitude. You've seen the lungs, you trust the claim.
There's a lesson hiding in plain sight for anyone in transition. If you're moving from service to civilian work, set yourself a 100-day goal. Not fix the grid, sure, but land your next role, finish that RPL assessment, or stack a qualification that opens doors. Public commitments focus the mind.
And they turn into stories for your resume. Because think about the narrative here. Musk isn't selling a battery. He's selling a result with a guarantee, and the guarantee is gutsy, miss the deadline, pay the price. That's a service level agreement on steroids.
Okay, let's break down the courage and commitment piece, because that's straight out of our values playbook. Courage to make the bet, commitment to deliver it. Camaraderie? That shows up in the network. You've got an Aussie tech founder pinging a US industrialist. a senator chiming in, and engineers spinning up from Nevada's gigafactory to Adelaide's paddocks. That's coalition building.
Integrity? If you say 100 days, you mean 100 days from signing the contract. No wriggle words. Respect, you don't call a whole state's grid broken. You say you can help stabilize it and back yourself to do it with tech and data, and that's important, especially in a political brawl. You focus on performance, not blame.
Speaking of performance, let's zoom into what a big battery does in a grid. It's not replacing a coal plant hour for hour, it's providing fast response. Think of it like quick reaction force. When the grid frequency starts to wobble, a battery jumps in within milliseconds and steadies it. It can also shave peaks, dump energy at 6 p.m. when everyone's cooking dinner and the aircon's thumping.
And for the ex-Sparkies and deployable genset whisperers out there, this is familiar terrain. Remember babysitting those old diesel beasts and watching the hertz like a hawk? In the grid world, frequency control ancillary services, FCAS, are like the sergeant keeping everyone in step. Batteries are scary good at that.
Now, politics did what politics does. The federal government blamed renewables for the blackouts. Others pushed back. Weather events, interconnector issues, gas supply, poor forecasting. There were multiple points of failure. And the AEMO was like, fellas, we need a system solution.
Here's a quick tangent that matters for careers. If you've ever sat through an after-action review where everyone argues over the one reason a mission went sideways, you know the trap. Complex problems never have a single culprit. The people who get promoted are the ones who can say, here's the mosaic, here's where we intervene, here's the order of operations.
And in the civilian world, the folks who can speak both ops and comms, who can translate megawatt and megawatt hour into business problems, those folks run teams. If you need help turning your experience into that kind of language, that's where RPL with 3CIR gives you credibility. You've got the skills. We help organize and certify them.
Speaking of organising, let's talk project management. The 100-day bet is a Gantt chart with a heartbeat. Scope, 100 millil of battery, 300 millil storage. Time, 100 days. Cost, not disclosed in the tweet, but in California it was about $100 million US for 80 millil. So we're talking significant capex. Quality, grid compliant, safe, reliable. Risk, supply chain delays, permit issues, grid integration complexity, political noise.
Controls are everything. If I were leading that project, I'd have a daily stand-up with a red, amber, green board, logistics on one axis, interconnection on another, safety and WHS front and center. Nothing moves if safety isn't green. Because spinning up kit at that speed can get sloppy if you don't make WHS non-negotiable.
This is where our WHS people perk up. Rapid deployments magnify little mistakes. You put a battery the size of a footy field into a paddock with high voltage lines and trucks reversing in the rain. You want a WHS leader who can see around corners. That's a real skill, and a lot of our listeners have it. If you're that person, we can help you formalize it into a Cert IV or diploma that opens doors.
And not just WHS, security for critical infrastructure, physical and cyber. HR to build and onboard the workforce to maintain the site, government liaison for permits and local community engagement, marketing to explain to the public what on earth a megawatt hour is and why it matters for their power bill, business and project management to manage cash, burn, and milestones. If you're nodding along, that's your lived experience. Let's put a frame around it with RPL.
Let's hit the comms lesson here because it's slick. Doing this negotiation on Twitter wasn't just theatre, it created external accountability. The moment Musk tweeted 100 days or free, the world became the regulator. It also rallied allies. Mike Cannon-Brookes didn't just ask, "Are you serious?" He offered to help with financing and policy navigation. That's Stakeholder Engagement 101. Enlist champions.
And for you at home, you can use that dynamic without tweeting million-dollar bets. Tell your network, I'm aiming to complete my RPL pack in 6 weeks and I want to be job ready by the end of the quarter. Ask 2 people to keep you honest. Public commitments create momentum.
All right, we promised we'd say how big batteries actually fit into the bigger puzzle because some people think it's silver bullet stuff. It's not. It's a very sharp, very useful bullet in a belt of tools. You still need generation, wind, solar, gas, whatever your portfolio is. You need transmission. You need forecasting that's more science than sorcery. And you need incentives aligned so that reliability gets rewarded, not just generated megawatt hours.
Batteries shine at speed and precision. They make the system more resilient against sudden shocks. Imagine a unit tripping off in the grid. a battery can act like an airbag. But you also need long-duration solutions for multi-hour, multi-day outages, pumped hydro, demand response, firm generation. That's why the 100 to 300 millimolar spec mattered. Bigger tank, longer help.
Here's a personal one. On deployment, I had a night where our generator started coughing. We were a comms node in the middle of nowhere. 20 minutes later, every radio net was dead. The lesson burned into my brain: resilience isn't how long you run, it's how quickly you recover. That's batteries, that's FCAS, it's the art of getting back to green fast.
That story hits because it maps to civilian life. Your career resilience isn't about never getting knocked, it's about how quickly you stabilize your situation and get back in control. For some of you, RPL is the battery. Fast recognition of what you already bring, stabilizing your professional frequency so you can build on it.
A lot of folks think RPL is a loophole. It's not. It's an assessment. You show evidence, logbooks, training records, letters, evaluations, and a qualified assessor maps it to national competencies. If there are gaps, you do gap training. It's faster because you've already done the hours under stress. That's the secret.
Let's also touch price spikes because the blog mentions them. When capacity is tight, prices jump. A battery gives you the option to sell power or services when it's most valuable. That lowers the peaks and saves money for the system. Again, California's 80 million dollars in 90 days. $100 million is a headline number, but you have to weigh it against avoided blackouts and stability savings.
And heads up, not everything that's fast is flaky. I know people hear 90 days and think corners were cut. That's where WHS and quality systems matter. If you're in that world, your superpower is marrying urgency with rigor. It's a rare combo. Employers drool over it.
You know what else employers drool over? Clear stories. Put this in your pitch. I managed a critical project with a fixed deadline, multiple stakeholders, and safety constraints. I set a bold timeline, communicated publicly, built cross-functional teams, and delivered measurable outcomes. That's the 100-day template, adapted for your career.
And we've got resources to help you tell that story. Jump on our 3CIR videos. Leadership, if you want to sharpen your message. HR, if you're moving into people roles. WHS, for the safety-minded. Security, for the critical infrastructure folks. Business and marketing, if you're building or selling. Government, if you're crossing into public service. And project management, because, well, it's the glue. They're quick hits. You can watch between jobs or on a lunch break.
I'm going to throw a nerd bone for the tech curious. The spec in the blog notes 100 to 300 milliohm was required to prevent shortages. That's a capacity planning call. If your worst case event is a plant tripping plus a hot day spike, having 300 milliohm gives you more runway to ride through while slower assets spin up. It's like carrying extra mags. You don't always need them, but when you do, you really do.
And the Hazelwood closure in Victoria, old coal plant, meant the entire East Coast had to reshuffle supply. So South Australia's issues weren't in a bubble. Interconnected grids mean your neighbour's choices sit in your lounge room. That's another lesson in career life. Your ecosystem matters. Who you're connected to changes how you cope with shocks.
All right, let's get practical. If you're thinking, I've got skills that translate to this energy transition, here's a quick playbook. 1. List your technical and leadership experiences. Generators, logistics, safety, comms, risk, stakeholder management. 2. Talk to our RPL team. We'll map that to qualifications. Maybe a diploma of project management, Cert VORI in WHS, Cert IVORI in leadership and management, or security quals if critical infrastructure is your jam.
3. Build a portfolio. Photos, incident reports redacted, training certificates, letters from supervisors. 4. Pick one of those 3CIR videos we mentioned and juice up a weak spot. 5. Set your 100-day timeline. Tell a mate, put it on the fridge. At day 30, adjust. At day 60, apply. At day 90, interview. Day 100, new trajectory.
Notice we didn't say day 100, dream achieved. We said trajectory. You don't need a perfect landing to be on the right vector. The public commitment is the battery, fast stability. The certifications are the generator, longer duration power. Pair them and you'll ride out the spikes.
And hey, if you're in the emergency services listening to this, we see you. You've been living peak demand and fast response forever. This energy transition stuff, you'd fit right in. Utilities and infrastructure companies want your mindset. Run toward the problem. Keep people safe. Coordinate under stress. Communicate with the public. That's your Tuesday.
Before we close the loop, let's circle back to the politics, because you're going to bump into it in any big project. The blog called it a political brawl over energy policy. When things go wrong, everyone hunts for a villain. The pros hunt for levers. If you can speak without inflaming, you become the adult in the room. Leaders hire adults.
Which is why integrity is a core value at 3CIR. If your experience includes owning outcomes when they weren't your fault but were your responsibility, that's something you should be proud of and articulate. We'll help you put that in paper and into conversations.
I can hear someone asking, is a 100-day bet reckless? It depends. In the field, sometimes you set a near impossible deadline to align hearts and hands, but you do it with an understanding of the risk, a plan for mitigation, and a willingness to bear the consequence if you miss. That's leadership. It's not loud, it's accountable.
And it's memorable. Years later, people aren't talking about a battery, they're talking about a promise. That sticks because promises, when kept, build trust. If you need help building that trust with employers, RPL is a signal. It says an independent assessor verified your capability. It's not fluff, it's a credential.
Let's throw in a mini Q&A, because my inbox gets the same 3 questions.
Hit me.
1. Do I need to be a Sparky to work in the energy space? No. There are roles in operations, WHS, logistics, community engagement, security, government liaison, procurement, and project management where your background is gold.
2, though, how long does RPL take? Depends on your evidence, but we've seen people go from initial chat to qualification in weeks, not months, especially if they've kept good records. If not, we help you reconstruct.
3. Will anyone care that I got it via RPL? Employers care about competence. RPL is just a path to recognizing it, and we're transparent about it because we're proud you did the work in real-world conditions.
Beautiful. And if you're a visual person, those videos we mentioned, leadership, HR, WHS, security, business, marketing, government, project management, they're quick dives to help you see yourself in new lanes. Pop them on after this. No fluff, just the stuff you can use.
I want to end with the mindset shift this story asks of us. Instead of waiting for perfect conditions to act, set a bold, credible target and move. The energy grid needed stability. The 100-day pledge catalyzed action. Your life might need the same jolt. Don't wait for permission. Declare, coordinate, deliver.
And be ready to own it. If you say you'll do something, do it. If you need help, ask early, not at day 99. Build your team. Make your timeline visible. Post a whiteboard pic. Tell your kids. Fine. Tell your dog. Accountability is power.
Today we took a headline about a billionaire and turned it into a blueprint for ordinary, extraordinary people like you. And if you're still with us, it means this hit a nerve. Good. Take that energy and point it at your next 100 days.
We've got your back at 3CIR. Whether it's RPL to get your run up or a qualification to lift your ceiling or just a conversation to map your options, we're here because we share your DNA. Courage, commitment, camaraderie, integrity, respect. That's more than a motto. It's your advantage.
Next time, we're leaning into something close to our bones. People who defended Australia deserve better. Not a slogan, not a gripe. A call to redesign support, recognition, and opportunities. We're going to talk about what better looks like and how to make it real.
Bring a mate to that one. And your questions. We'll keep this rolling. For now, hit the 3CIR site, check out those videos, book an RPL chat, and set your 100-day target. Say it out loud. You're on the clock, in the best way.
Exactly. Start now. Adjust on the move. Finish strong. Catch you soon.
See you then.